Have you ever seen a single person going into that factory?
There must be people working there.
The only thing that comes out of that place is the candy.
And on to the why did they even bother remaking this movie in the first place? It's time to review Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This is the new movie from Tim Burton. And unless you've been living under a rock, you already know who Tim Burton is, or else you probably wouldn't be checking out this website in the first place. So, that said, we've got Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder, early 70s, kind of a classic movie, a big cult movie in some respects, but I think one of the reasons that the original is so good is because it's so strange, and it's really an anomaly in its time for a motion picture. Anyway, Tim Burton's got the new one, and we've got Johnny Depp starring as Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory based on the original Roald Dahl novel. What'd you think, JD?
I loved it. I think you're being persnickety to begin with. I loved it. I thought it was sweet. For me, I was trying to figure out why do this movie. What's the point? What do you have to offer that's going to be different? You know?
And the answer?
I think the answer is the Willy Wonka backstory. Everything that has to do with explaining Willy Wonka. The first movie is told through Charlie's experience, and Willy Wonka is sort of... Gene Wilder was a little bit more lovable and a little bit softer than the Johnny Depp thing, that's a little odd. This time around, there's a lot of backstory with Willy Wonka that wasn't in the first movie, and probably is irritating certain people who like the way it was before. But really, the first 3/4 of this movie are very, very similar. It's not like a shot-for-shot, like Psycho kind of a thing, but it's very similar to the original. And I liked it. I thought it was great. But I was trying to figure out what was the point until the last quarter of the movie, and it really went in a different direction. I thought it was cool.
Now, see, I would have to agree with you. I think that the Johnny Depp part, the background of Johnny Depp and Christopher Lee, who plays his father, the dentist, that was awesome. That was a great backstory. It was really, it brought like this emotion that had kind of been missing in the whole movie up to that point, except for the beginning part with Charlie and his family, and they're really poor, and the grandparents are all sleeping in the same bed type thing. But my point is, the movie starts out being about Charlie, and then it ends up being about Willy Wonka, and it doesn't. In the meantime, there's nothing to really ground you. There's no emotional pull. It's a lot like Big Fish, which for me, Big Fish was a pretty cool movie, but it seemed like it was going through the motions and it wasn't making you feel anything. It was like, okay, here's this next weird scene, and here's Ewan McGregor acting all innocent and being like, oh my God, and then there's another weird scene, and it's like, I've got another tall tale to tell, and I don't know if he's going to believe, but it seemed like he was going through the motions. I don't think Tim Burton's really hit his since Sleepy Hollow, I don't think he's had a movie that really, follows a good storyline, gets you from A to B. I think Willy Wonka is a collection of vignettes, sometimes funny, sometimes not, and I do agree with you that the scenes with his father, the backstory was phenomenal. That was my favorite part of the movie, actually.
Yeah, it a little bit too much followed the Oompa Loompa songs. I mean, it was almost like it was moving just to set up the next thing, but that's really the convention that the first film had as well. I just think that this one didn't have as much emotionally
It didn't have as much orange and white. It was a small Indian man doing all the parts.
That was terrible. That was the one thing I thought was absolutely terrible, was the whole CGIing a whole race of people.
A race of people?
He's one guy, and he's been CGI'd and cut in and composited to make the entire population of Oompa Loompas. That was terrible. And it looked bad, and it was distracting.